Welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where we love to educate and inspire the community with topics around living healthier, feeling more balanced and living a life we love. And today we have Dr Zara Celik back with us, our integrative health and wellness expert. And the topic today is body dysmorphia. So welcome, Zara.
Thank you.
What is dysmorphia?
Well, dysmorphia comes from the word morphia, which means form. So usually that can occur in individuals where they are comparing themselves to somebody else. Usually they are infatuated with someone. When it comes to body dysmorphia, they're comparing their body parts to someone else. Or it could be also a comparison of intellectual capacity. They could be comparing themselves to say, oh, they're smarter than me. That's a form of dysmorphia. Or they're richer than me, or they're wealthier than me, or they've got better family than me. So they're all dysmorphia, but today let's focus on and talk about body dysmorphia. And in that, usually people comparing their body parts to someone else. I recently had a lady that I was actually talking to, and she went through a procedure, a cosmetic procedure, because she thought that the person that her boyfriend was actually following and watching on social media was more attractive than her. So she was looking to see what her boyfriend was actually, looking at in that individual, which was on social media, by the way, and in overseas. So she then thought, okay, well, she compared then her to herself. That was on social media. And she then took the step and went and did a cosmetic procedure because she was comparing her body part to this individual on social media. So I asked a question to her. I said, where have you perceived yourself having that form? She's very intelligent. And then she looked into it because I made her aware. She wasn't able to see that not only she also perceived herself attractive in the same form as the model was on social media, but also she had it in different forms, which was her intelligence, which was her career, which were her business and her education. And the minute she saw that, and she had that reflected awareness, because I made her aware by questioning her, she was able to accept and love her body for who she was, rather than comparing herself to some other person and try to become her, which she wasn't going to become her, right? She's by individual.
Yeah, if I may. And the other thing I just clicked with me is, of course, online you see these people and they're all, it's all, you can't tell exactly what they look like. Let's put it, what is it, Photoshop or whatever.
That too, yes.
It's being done all the time.
Exactly, and especially with our teenagers, right? They're sort of going through a stage in their life trying to work out who they are, and also they're comparing their body particularly to other people, and they want to become like them. I just want to tell them, embrace and love who you are and have reflective awareness about where do you display that form. And if it is the body, there's also a side of you, you're not just like disliking your body completely, not disowning it. I'm sure there are parts that you're also owning. So go to the parts that you're owning where you feel confident and comfortable and embrace that. And that could give you that confidence. So then you're not comparing yourself to others. And with, again, social media, like you said, it's not always the truth and the true reflection of things. And I want people to be aware of that as well, because that's huge. And not only in teenagers, I also have, a lot of women, mature women, even the language that they use about their body. I hate that about my body. The minute they do it, I pick up on that. It's like, where have you actually loved that part of you? So that's quite significant. And then immediately they go to their mind, the subconscious, and get into balancing the mind within themselves. So then they create the equity between themselves and the other person that they're comparing it to. So usually it's the comparison. They're trying to be like somebody. It's the comparison of things where the individual then starts having dysmorphia. Because I'm not fit enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not attractive enough, or my size isn't just like her or him. So that's where it all comes in. But once we create the that equity between the individual outside of us and ourselves, and the balance within our mind, that's where we actually overcome dysmorphia.
And does that then also, with the body dysmorphia, does that lead into things like anorexia and
It can, absolutely. So that's when, having that conflict within. That's why I said balancing the mind. So when there's that conflict, they will want to be like, oh, she's skinny, I'll just won't eat, or I will just, or bulimia is another one. They eat, they throw up, they always have that, up and down in the weight. They're always constantly comparing themselves to somebody else. And of course, yes, it can lead to anorexia and bulimia, for sure.
And so how does it, you've sort of said a bit about how it plays out, I suppose, but how does it then, how do you actually work with people with that to help them to overcome it or to help to feel better about it?
Yeah, great question. So I will encourage people, stop the minute they see they've infatuated with somebody and they've got this fantasy going, to stop and say, well, what is it exactly I'm admiring in that person? And where have I that displayed in me? Where do I have it also in my own form? In my intelligence, apart from the looks, or even the looks. They may be comparing the fitness of the arm, but see where else you are fit. They may be comparing the stomach area to somebody else. Well, go to form and find in other form. What part of your body do you love and own? So find the form that you love and the form that you're confident and comfortable with. So you dissolve the dysmorphia. For not everybody loves every single body part, but there are things that we really like and we just accentuate that and we bring that forward and we look at that and feel comfortable. And there's other parts where we may not feel very comfortable, but then there's that whole balance even in the body, and I want people to be aware of that. Even with our body parts, there's that balance. And once we become aware, say, hey, yes, I may not like my legs very much, but I love maybe my face or my hair or my eye, just giving an example. So I like people to find their own form and see what they're admiring in other persons actually within them once they find it.
And Zara, what advice would you give our viewers as a number one, a first thing?
Sure. So be aware of the language that you're using. Are you self-critical? That's a common one, right? And then when that creates the equity in the mind. So you are actually balancing your own mind through the thought process and the language that you have, and also contributing to the biochemistry of the mind. The other thing is when you catch yourself being infatuated or admiring someone so much, stop immediately and ask yourself the question, what is it exactly I'm admiring in them? And find it in your own form. Where have I admired myself? And find your form. And that will help you to create equity between you and the individual that you're admiring or infatuated with.
Great. Thank you, Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and body dysmorphia, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break.
Stay tuned. After the break, naturopath, lecturer and author Michèle Wolff will be talking about, are bloating and irritable bowel syndrome curable? Welcome back. Our next guest, Michèle Wolff, is a naturopath, lecturer and author, and the topic we'll be discussing is, are irritable bowel symptoms curable? Welcome, Michèle.
Hi, Megan.
So, what is the cause of irritable bowel symptoms?
It can be many causes, and I'll also just describe the symptoms because they can be very varied. So irritable bowel is a broad term that can cover alternating constipation and diarrhea, bloating, excessive wind, and pain and cramping in the gut. Some people may be diagnosed with irritable bowel and tend more to constipation, others may have diarrhea. So there can be several different symptoms involved. Yes, it's definitely curable once the cause has been found. So there's lots of different causes to irritable bowel. So it can be, for example, a type of pathology, which could be an overgrowth of bacteria, abnormal bacteria, like streptococcus or enterococcus. It could be an overgrowth of a parasite, it could be overgrowth of a fungus, it could be an intolerance or an allergy to a particular food. It can be simply stress that causes it, or a lack of a nutrient that is used up due to stress, like magnesium, which is a relaxant to the gut. And it could be due to a lifestyle where there's, for example, a truck driver who sits for hours, or somebody that has a lot of shift work and they're changing hours. That can cause problems with the gut and a lot of discomfort and bloating. And it can be something more serious that needs to be investigated. You know, like people can have bloating when they've got ovarian cancer. That's an extreme example, but these things are not to be overlooked. So I would normally ask a lot of questions to define what I think that the cause is. And there can also be a problem with the upper digestion. So if somebody's not producing enough digestive enzymes or bile from their gallbladder or hydrochloric acid, or they've got small intestine bacterial overgrowth, which is higher up, then that can lead to irritable bowel symptoms as well. So it's quite varied, but they can all be cured if they have the right medicine.
So irritable bowel is curable?
Yes, it's definitely curable. So once we found out what the cause is, so you know, if you're intolerant to wheat, it may be taking the wheat out, allowing the bowel to heal, giving specific herbs and remedies, and then there may be a time that you can bring wheat back in, as long as there's not something more serious like celiac disease, which can cause irritable bowel as well. That can be masked as it as well. If there is a parasite infection diagnosed, then we will use specific herbs for specific parasites. So we may use wormwood or garlic or Artemisia annua, black walnut. There is a pomegranate. There's a whole range of herbs depending on which parasite there is, and the herbs need to be tailored by a naturopath. I wouldn't go out and take them yourself, because it's a certain amount of meals and the prescription is quite defined. If it's a fungus, we would use herbs like golden seal podarco, horopito, to name a few, and they would be given for a certain amount of time, along with a diet that starves out fungus, and along with correcting the microbiome. So just like you have healthy soil with good healthy bacteria and then your plants grow really strong, we want to have healthy flora and fauna in the gut, and then the parasites don't come in the first place. Also, if you've got really healthy hydrochloric acid in your stomach, that's one of your first lines of defences. So if somebody has a lettuce leaf with a parasite egg on it, and they chew that, and you've got good amounts of hydrochloric acid, that will kill it off in the stomach. If they don't, then it passes into the bowel and then can hatch into a parasite. So it's having all the defences in place. Also, the intestine is 70 to 80% of our immune system. So we want that to be really healthy so that the immune system also fights off things like fungus and bacteria and parasites. So it's all curable through lifestyle and through managing stress, through certain herbal medicine and certain nutrients, and guidance with lifestyle practices from somebody like myself. And if I think it's something more complicated, I'll refer to a doctor.
That's such good information, thank you. So do you have any extra tips for our viewers?
Yes. So if you're having something bitter or sour with most of your meals, you'll be helping to stimulate your good digestive juices, which is preventative for a start. Eat calmly, eat sitting down, avoid eating when you're stressed, because that can lead to more bloating and more irritable bowel. And it doesn't hurt to miss a meal or two if you're really stressed. Just wait till you're really calm. Obviously, if you're ongoingly not nourishing yourself, there's a problem. but a few hours or a few days is no problem. Having the spices which I have mentioned before, like fennel, ginger, cardamom, peppermint as digestive spices to strengthen the gut really helps. And if you're going overseas to a foreign country where you may pick up a parasite, take a really good non-refrigerated probiotic with you and ask your naturopath what you can take with you to both prevent and treat parasites, so that you can sort of knock it on the head quicker. And then if you're living a healthy, balanced lifestyle with good food, lots of rest, good fluid, healthy relationships, then your own system will be in balance to ward these things off. Sometimes it's when we get out of balance that we get more prone to things like irritable bowel.
That's such valuable information, Michèle. If you'd like to know more about Michèle Wolff and irritable bowel symptoms, please go to Michèle's webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic. Stay tuned. After the break, urban food specialist Marc Noyce will be talking about how to create your own urban edible garden. Welcome back. Our next guest is urban food specialist Marc Noyce, and the topic we're here to discuss today is how to create your own edible garden. Welcome, Marc.
Hi Megan, thanks for having me.
So Marc, what are some of the challenges we face in creating our own edible garden?
I grew up on a market garden myself, and I had broadacre farming. I had all the farming tools associated with a big urban farm. And it took a lot of work. But I tell you, when you get into our urban environment where there's a concrete jungle, it's that much harder again to grow your own food at home. So some of the challenges are having the right space, having the right aspects so that you get the right light onto your plants, because, you know, let's face it, some plants need a lot more light than others. Lettuce might only need 4 to 5 hours a day, whereas tomatoes and some other sun-loving plants need up to 10 hours a day of sunlight, so they need to be in full sun. So that's a challenge, getting the light and the aspect right, getting your nutrition right for your plants, getting the right nutrients in there, getting a high-quality compost or a high-quality potting mix. That's very important as well, to keep that nutrition up to feed the plants. We all like to get fed well, so do our plants, and they need to get fed well too, to get the best out of them. Another very important thing to remember is having access to water. Plants like water access all the time. If a plant doesn't get, and especially vegetables, if a plant doesn't get what they need in terms of water access, they go, I'm not going to be around here much longer, so I'm going to go to seed. I'm going to fulfill my life's mission, and I'm going to just go to seed. And we call that bolting. When a vegetable doesn't like its water environment, it gets too stressed, it releases a little hormone that says, hey, go to seed. So getting that water right for your plants, you can either be out there watering all day, you can be out there watering morning, noon and night just to keep that optimal water up to your plants, or you can set your garden up much easier with wicking garden beds, for example.
Marc, what are the benefits of having an edible garden?
The benefits are just enormous in terms of your mental health, in terms of your physical nutrition, in terms of your connecting with your friends and family and your community. So let's have a look at those aspects of an urban edible garden. I love going out to my own garden and knowing where my food comes from, looking at these plants and watching them grow and being part of that, and then understanding exactly what I put into those plants so that I know that I'm getting really fresh, organic produce that is just tasty and nutritious and just fantastic to eat. The benefits also getting involved in knowing where your food comes from, and also communicating with your friends and family that maybe you haven't seen for a while. So let's grow some beetroots. Grow some beetroots and then make some beetroot relish, and in a very small place you can grow 3 kilos of beetroot in 2 months in half a square metre, make a relish that can go to 5 or 6 people in your family, and your friends will love you. And not only that, you're getting so much satisfaction out of growing your own food. You're getting a lot of satisfaction about getting in contact with people that you might not have seen for a while, and you're starting that conversation again. You're increasing your mental health, you're helping others, and then you can give back something to your community as well. On a broader scale, you can grow food for your neighbours, you can get people involved into a community garden, and you can just have an enormous uplifting of self-confidence and community confidence about closing your nutrient loops, reusing water for food, and I'm just rambling on, I shouldn't have said that.
Marc, can I grow the same plant over and over again?
Well, you can, but if you don't do certain things to keep ensuring that the potting mix is fresh, if you don't remove the biomass that's, the root systems, the stem of the plant, for example, you can't just keep planting in the same spot all the time. It's gardening 101. You look at our farmers turn over the soil and they recompost and they re-add nutrient, and they just make sure that the growing media is fresh and optimal after every season that the vegetables come out of. We've got to do the same for our own environment, our own containerised growing in urban environments. So yes, you can, but if you don't refresh your potting mix, if you don't deal with the biomass that's created when a vegetable puts its tremendous root systems down, then you're not going to get the best out of it. And some plants really suck the nutrient out of potting mix. And let's face it, what a plant is doing is it's taking that energy that's in the potting mix and they're converting it into biomass and something yummy that we like to eat. So it's just a big energy transfer. So when that vegetable's done, we've got to put more energy back into the soil. And that's through refreshing the compost, refreshing the potting mix with either nutrient, soluble fertiliser, or some of our green waste. We can actually put our green waste back into the soil to grow more nutritious food.
That's fantastic. So Marc, what's some advice you've got for our audience in creating their own edible garden?
My advice would be to think about what you're going to grow. Think about where you're going to grow it. Think about what you're going to grow it in, and then make a plan. We need to also think about how we're going to manage our vegetable garden, edibles, by getting the right sunlight, getting the right aspect, protecting them from bugs with either netting, protecting them from really harsh conditions like wind through netting and shade cloth, and thinking about crop rotation, thinking about what am I going to plant in the potting mix after my tomatoes come out, and maybe you put onions in there, and then you swap that over after you've reset your nutrition in your potting mix.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for that great information, Marc. If you'd like to know more about Marc Noyce and how to create your own edible garden, please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And that's all for us today, so we'll say bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.